All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock a really powerful strategy for tapping into Arizona's booming tourism market. And here's the best part. You don't need to buy a single property. We're diving deep into Airbnb rental arbitrage, and I'm going to walk you through the entire playbook, step by step. So just how big is this opportunity? Well, the engine driving this whole thing is a mind-blowing $28 billion in direct travel spending. That's the pool of money you're tapping into, and it puts Arizona right up there with the top destinations in the country. And who's spending all that cash? In 2023 alone, 46.1 million people stayed overnight in Arizona. I mean, just think about that for a second. Every single one of them is a potential guest looking for a great place to stay. And for you, as a host, that incredible demand means one thing: bookings. A lot of them. During peak season, the best properties are consistently over 90% full. You really can't ask for a stronger signal of a healthy market. Okay, so let's jump right in. Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to start with what makes Arizona such a unique market, then get into the specific strategy, the laws you absolutely need to know, and finally, the step-by-step plan to get you launched. So what really makes Arizona a gold mine for short-term rentals? It's so much more than just the sunshine. It's this unique mix of factors that creates the absolute perfect storm for hosts. It's this powerful mix right here. First, you've got an inverse peak season, October to April, which brings in millions of snowbirds escaping the cold. Then you layer on massive events like the Super Bowl and spring training that cause these huge demand spikes. But here's the real kicker. A state law, SB 1350, actually protects your fundamental right to operate a short-term rental. That gives you a level of security that is incredibly rare to find anywhere else. Okay, so the market is hot, but how do you tap into all this without needing, hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a place? Let's get into the strategy. And that really brings us to the central question for so many aspiring hosts, right? How do you get in on this action when home prices in markets like Scottsdale are easily over $1 million? Well, the answer is this powerful model called rental arbitrage. The concept is actually pretty simple. You sign a long-term lease on a property, and then, with the landlord's explicit written permission, you furnish it beautifully and list it on platforms like Airbnb. You get to control a cash-flowing asset without ever having to own it. And this is where the numbers get really, really exciting. Just look at this example. A house in Mesa renting for $1,800 a month. Well, that costs you about $21,600 a year, but it can bring in over $50,000 in revenue. That massive gap, that is the arbitrage spread, and that is what makes this model so incredibly powerful. This table really lays out the strategic choice you have to make. You could go for a high-risk, high-reward market like Scottsdale, huge revenue potential, but also high costs and very strict rules. Or you could look at a market like Mesa, which is often called the state's arbitrage sweet spot. It offers much lower lease costs and more moderate regulations, making it a fantastic entry point. Okay, hold on. Before you get too excited and start scrolling Zillow, we need to talk about the legal landscape. I know, this isn't the glamorous part, but believe me, this is what separates a sustainable, profitable business from one that gets shut down in a month. Arizona's regulations have really evolved over time. That 2016 law was a huge win for operators, but by 2022, cities gained more power to regulate things like noise and parties. The trend is crystal clear. Your right to operate is protected, but the need to be a responsible, totally compliant host is only getting more important. So the key takeaway here is that every single operator, doesn't matter what city you're in, has to follow these core state-level rules. Getting your transaction privilege tax license, which is basically a sales tax license, registering locally, and having proper insurance, these are the absolute non-negotiables to operate legally. All right, now that we've got the legal stuff covered, let's get to the fun part, the exact, step-by-step playbook for taking this from just an idea to getting your very first booking. Think of these first 4 steps as your foundation. You've got to get this right. It's the homework. Picking the right market for you, like Mesa for arbitrage, digging into specific city rules and any HOA restrictions, don't forget that part, getting your tax license, and then forming your business entity. And get this, in Arizona, filing for an LLC is incredibly affordable. It's just $50. And once that foundation is solid, it's all about execution. Step 5 is huge, securing and furnishing the right property, with a massive focus on that key Arizona amenity, the outdoor space. Then it's about designing a killer listing, pricing it strategically to get those crucial first reviews, And finally, building your team, your cleaners, your maintenance pros, to keep everything running like a well-oiled machine. Now, let's talk about something that can absolutely make or break your business in Arizona, and that is having the right protection. This is such a fascinating paradox. In the Phoenix area, a pool is pretty much a requirement to compete. But that very same amenity, the thing that lets you charge higher rates and get more bookings, is also your single biggest financial and legal risk. And this is why you have to understand this difference. Protections like air cover are a nice supplement, sure, but they are absolutely not a substitute for a dedicated commercial short-term rental insurance policy. A real policy covers you for commercial activity, which your standard homeowners or renters policy will not do. Don't make that mistake. So we've covered the market, the strategy, the laws, and the launch plan. After all that, what's the bottom line? What does it really take to win in Arizona? Look, success really just boils down to these things. It starts with choosing your market wisely. It absolutely depends on you following every single rule and staying compliant. And it's all sealed by running your property like a true business, not a hobby, from day one. So there it is. We've laid out the multi-billion-dollar opportunity and the step-by-step playbook to claim your piece of it. The opportunity is clear. The playbook is right here. The only variable left in the equation is you. So, are you ready to execute?